Stuart, but we'll cover that to see if he might drop in. He might be having some technical difficulties or something, but we'll work it out as we go along. All right, so yes, welcome everyone to the first UEE General Tag meeting for the year. Thank you all for showing up today, and we'll just move on to the next slide. I'll do the acknowledgement of country. So PSO and the Technical Advisory Group acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and the connections to land, sea and community. And we pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. And just welcome, I'm down on the Ghana land down in Adelaide, South Australia. So welcome. Our agenda today, we're going to do some welcomes into introductions. As I mentioned before, we have a couple of new chairs this time round for the next lot of meetings that we're going through. So we'll do some welcome and introductions there, and we'll also just flip around a room and get acknowledgement from everyone else who was in the room. We'll have some updates on projects that PSO have been undertaking, including the maintenance ones. We'll have a bit of a summary from the previous tag meeting late last year, have a look at the tag report and the request for advice, the survey with the questions that goes out to all the people who attend. We're going to have a little bit of a update on our workforce plan, for workforce blueprint, I should say. And we've invited Melissa, part of the PSO team, in to have a bit of a chat about that when we get to it. And then we'll close out our meeting after that. The next one. So, as I mentioned before, we have two new tag chairs for this particular UEE meeting. We've got Peter Collins from Federation TAFE and Stuart Deeperveen from Electrical Group Training. Now, not sure that Stuart's on the call at the moment, but we'll let Peter introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm here now.
Oh, you are here, Stuart. Excellent. No worries. Well, we'll let Peter go first and then you can jump in if you like. Thanks, Stuart.
No problem.
Okay, so Peter Collins, 19 years on the tools as an industrial electrician, and made the jump to trade school teaching back in 2006. So been involved in the TAFE education side since. And yeah, just here to have my input and hopefully help the qual moving forward.
Thanks, Pete. And Stuart?
Yeah, so Stuart Deeperveen, Electrical Group Training, the General Manager here. I'm an ex-EGT apprentice, did my time in the 90s, so finishing in October 96, so almost 30 years. Wow, that makes me feel old. As an electrician, yeah, been back at EGT since 2005 and GM since 07, so been here for ages. Also involved with the Training Council and the apprentice employment networks in the state and federally. So, yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Stuart. And I'll just shoot over to Brett and we'll just do a bit of around the room. Brett, you can introduce yourself as well.
Thanks, Phil. Brett Willow-White, Senior Manager Technical Training at PSO. And we'll just do a bit of around the room. If you could just give us a brief introduction, that'd be great. Start with Andrew Goller. Andrew?
Hopefully you guys are able to just take yourself off mute, I'm hoping.
I can, if you want me to go next.
You can go, Greer.
All right, Greer Novak. I'm the acting manager here in licensing in Queensland, licensing regulator.
Thanks, Greer. Arvind Sharma.
Thank you. I'm Arvind Sharma from Victoria University. I manage electrical and all the trades in the VU trades area.
Thanks, Arvind. Bradley Shunner.
Hi, everyone. Brad Schneer from the Clean Energy Council. Been here the last couple of months as an injury education specialist, so looking at the renewables and training requirements there. Prior to that, I was a TAFE manager in the electrical department at TAFE Gippsland in Morwell for, 13 years nearly. So, yep, I know Pete and a few other faces, so thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brad. Christopher Gurin.
Yes, hello there. I work for Transgrid, the New South Wales transmission transmission network. We actually deliver a couple of UEE units for our transmission overhead lining training. So we've got a little bit of a vested interest in here. So I'm just here to sort of have a bit of a sticky beak and see what's happening, to be honest. Cheers.
Right. Thanks, Christopher. Damien Williams.
Yeah, hi. Energy Queensland, just a training profiling specialist, I suppose they call me, or sort of train apprentices and look after their off-job evidence portfolios.
Thanks, Damien. Dominic, assuming Shapano.
Yep. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Dominic Shapano from the telecommunication industry. And we're actually one of the ACMA cable registrars, of which we are very interested in the UEE training package and competencies because it's part of our registration system, plus a long-time vet person involved with the energy industry.
Thanks, Dominic. Donna White.
Yeah, hi. I'm a principal lecturer with the South Regional TAFE over in WA. Also part of our little statewide group over there. So hoping I can share some information that we get from this meeting back with those guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Gordon Edwards.
Yeah, Gordon Edwards, yeah, with Energy Queensland Enterprise RTO, technical advisor just to our qualifications, UEE, UET and so forth.
Thanks, Gordon. Jakes Jacobs.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jake from Energy Skills Queensland. I'm the industry skills advisor to the Queensland government, as also the industry workforce planner here at Energy Skills Queensland. Thanks.
Jasmine Bullman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Bullman. I'm the Policy and Government Relations Manager with the National Fire Industry Association. As you'd all be aware, UEE is very important members for the electrical licensing side of things. So I will admit I am very technically not savvy, but I'm certainly going to be reporting back to people that are. So I'm looking forward to learning from you all.
Thanks, Jasmine. Jess Collins.
G'day, Jess Collins, Energy Safe Victoria, regulator in Vic, the education manager. So I look after sort of licensing assessments and also our interaction with a lot of the RTOs.
Julian McCoy.
Hi everyone, Julian McCoy, also from the Clean Energy Council. I'm a Senior Policy Officer in the Workforce Development team.
Thanks, Julian. I've got Kevin. I don't have a surname. Kevin.
Kevin Gawada. I'm the electrical trainer at AussieNet, and we do pretty much electrical training in Brisbane.
Thanks,
and
Kev.
Darwin. Not to forget that, Fred.
Don't forget Darwin, mate.
Yeah.
Kezia Duncan.
Thank you very much. Be free.
Hi, I look after the apprentice program, West Gold Resources, including our electricians, but not only electricians. So just joining the group to see how it may affect our guys and then pass on that information through to the supervisors and the apprentices.
Great, thanks, Kezia. Kieran?
Yeah, morning all. Kieran Hinsley from Connect to Australia in WA. Look after all kinds of apprentice trade streams, and we also deliver the UEE RL 0007, the restricted electrical licence over here in WA.
Thanks, Kieran. Lisa Ditchburn.
Hi, I'm Lisa Ditchburn. I'm from the College of Electrical Training in WA, and I manage the training department.
Thanks, Lisa. Matthew Tosolini.
Yeah, g'day. National Capability and Technical Training Manager for Komatsu Australia.
Thanks, Matthew. And Melissa Waltman. You with us, Melissa?
She was
Hi.
over. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hi. I'm Melissa Wortman. I'm the Executive Officer for the New South Wales Utilities and Electrotechnology ITAB.
Thanks, Melissa. And we've got a few PSO staff, but we won't go through all introductions there. Melissa Arnold will introduce herself when she does the vet blueprint later. Was there anyone I missed out there?
You did, mate.
Yes, Veronica Mori.
Sorry?
Veronica, yeah, it's Veronica Mori here.
Oh, hey, Veronica.
Yeah. Hello to everybody. And for those who don't know me, I'm a consultant in training and safety. I have a long history of being an electrician involved in the electrical training side of our industry. I am a member of the Electrical Licensing Committee in Queensland, who advises the committee on technical and training issues.
Thanks, Veronica. And was there anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jump in.
Yeah, Peter Nixon. I'm a electrical trades teacher at Grafton TAFE in New South Wales. I'm a retired electrical engineer, but still hold all my trade qualifications. So most of my history was in SCADA and hydro generation and high voltage.
Okay, and I can see a few more names now. Shane O'Byrne.
Yeah, Shane O'Byrne, Technical Training Lead, Horizon Power, WA. We're a regional government-owned, vertically integrated power company. Sparky by trade, but that was a while ago. Thank you.
Thanks. And Renard Saunders.
Hey guys, just here representing NECA. Obviously everyone knows who NECA are, so got a pretty vested interest amongst all aspects of the electrical trades and what we're doing.
Thanks, Renard. Sue Shepherd.
Hi, Sue Shepherd from TAFE Queensland. I'm the Emerging Industries Business Manager at the moment. I'm all about renewables and regional opportunities, women in trades. I'm also on the ESO Educational Committee.
Thanks, Sue. And Tobias Keating.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm with NECA Training in New South Wales. I'm primarily involved in content development and RTO compliance.
Thanks, Tobias. I think I've got everyone now. So there's some new people in the room, which is great, and a good number. So if there's nobody else that I've missed out, I'll go back to you, Phil.
Excellent. Thanks, Brett. Yeah, no, great to see everybody on board. And yeah, there's a wide range of experience in the room. So that's fantastic. We'll move on to our next slide. And I think, was that you, Stuart? We're going to have a bit of a talk to this one for us.
Yeah. My note on this one is quite brief.
That's all right.
It just says throw to Phil and Brett. So I was just going to say the November tag request for advice report is on the website now. So if you haven't had a chance to have a look at that, go and have a look at that. Otherwise, did you want to talk to these charts?
I can do that. Yep. So each time we have one of our tag meetings, we do a bit of a recount and a bit of a look and see what's happening there. So at our last tag meeting in November, we had 42 representatives register, and we had 21 turn up. So I reckon we were a little better off this time. And then as at the end of each of our meetings, we put out our request for advice. And we had 62% of the attendees complete that request for advice. So just a bit of a shout out there for that request for advice. And you'll probably hear us talk a little bit about it throughout the tag today. But the questions are real sounding board questions that we put out there. Some of them are raised during the tag meeting itself, some from previous tag meetings, or some of them that might come through our information channels at PSO that we'd like to put out to the wider group. As we just mentioned, we have a wide-ranging group of people in the room today. So really would like to get your feedback and comments back when we put out those requests for advice. Just looking at the two graphs there, We have quite a range of different people in the room last time, from public and private RTOs through to industry associations, educational places, and regulatory and licensing bodies. So yeah, good group of people in the room last time, and I'll pretty much be mirroring this time around. And again, with the locations, some of those representatives on the national basis, but we also have representation from most of the states and territories as well. So really good there. We jump into the next slide. And I think, Brett, you were going to give us a bit of an update on a couple of projects, and I'll help out with the other ones that you don't.
Yep. So the UET rescue units, which do fall, there's a couple fall over into the UEE package. They've actually been out at the state and territory senior responsible officers for comment. That wound up last Friday. So we're just putting together our submission to the assurance body, and that will go in towards the end of next week for those. So some changes there just to bring everyone up to date on the final drafts. Some wording put into the LV rescue from a live panel in the application to actually mention electrical workers along with ESI workers, so electricians. And then across all the units, the prerequisites had been removed with the exception of CPR, which was left in all the units that it was already in. And there's also been some wording put into the performance and the knowledge evidence about identifying voltages in relation to safe approach distances. And also in the assessor conditions, just referencing from the RTO standards 1.13, which confirms that assessors need to be competent in the skills and knowledge that they're assessing, basically, and show industry currency. So we've just used the wording straight out of 1.13 in those assessor conditions. So that's the update on the rescue units. Did you want to take the other ones, Phil?
Yep, I'll take the other ones. Melissa, is that a question on that UET one just before we move on?
Please. Yes, please. As you're aware, the feedback from New South Wales is that we were opposing those changes. I'm just asking, the changes you've just outlined, Brett, are they additional to the changes that were in the last version that came back in January, or are they the changes that were in January?
Melissa, they were the changes that were in January. And I'm just in communication at the moment with the New South Wales SRO. They've supported it with some provisos, so we're just working on that with them. But those changes itself have been supported across the board.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
No worries. So just with the other projects there, creating an energy sector pathway for those that might be new to the TAG committee. This was about reviewing the Cert 2 qualifications within the UEE streams. So those people involved in training knew that the electrotechnology career pathways Cert 2 had a very good uptake, but potentially missing the mark when it came to schools and some of the vetting schools and some of that area there. And there was also some Cert 2 qualifications that didn't have any enrolment. So the Creating Energy Sector pathway is looking at that pathway into the energy sector, not necessarily electrician, but all of the energy sector pathway. Now that project is still with the technical committee at this stage, so that one's just moving along in that space there, and once we have some more information on that, we can come back. Consolidated units of competency development units, I should say. You've got to get that out right. This one here is out at the SROs, or just finished with the state responsible officers. So we're just collecting the feedback on that. But that was looking at those competency development units and looking at the consolidation, or if there was able to be any consolidation in that space. The ERAC Essential Performance Capabilities Review, again, not much more of an update on this one besides that it's still at the technical committee stage. Obviously, the ERAC Essential Performance criteria needs to be incorporated into the electrician qualification and all the other units of competency and qualifications that fall out of that. So the technical committee is knee-deep in that one at the moment. We also have the minor changes to various training packages that we've been working on in the background as well. I think there's some on the next slide, actually, just giving a little bit of an update. Yeah, so we have updated to 2 qualifications, and we've looked at 32 units of competency that, I mean, realistically, they have been those minor changes, generally wording that didn't come out right in the transition from one training package to the next training package. Yeah, we needed to go in and fix those ones out. Those ones don't require the need for technical committee, and they're generally just potentially spelling mistakes or just wording that doesn't make any sense. So, of course, if any of you as stakeholders find that information while you're going through the training packages, something that the wording's wrong, doesn't make sense, please send them into PSO, and we can start work on those ones as soon as possible, because they're just the minor changes. Some of the other information that's been coming into us is about some superseded units as well. The superseded ones can be a bit more interesting to make those changes quickly. For instance, if you were to take Cert 2, the Career Star that I mentioned before, there's superseded units that sit within the core of the qualification. So whenever the units of competency sit in the core of the qualification, it means that we have to undertake a major change. So it's not just as simple as swapping out the old unit for the new unit. It actually has to stand up a committee and go with it. In the case of the Cert 2, not too bad, because we do have a technical committee looking at the whole qualification, so we'll be able to update that. But yeah, it can be a bit of a drawn-out process to have some of the superseded units changed very quickly without opening it up for a major change. And the advice from government is, when we do look at superseded units that sit within the core of a qualification, they'd like us to review that qualification. So we're not just churning over, we call it churning over, or changing the training package titles and years just for the sake of something minor. We want to incorporate all the change and get it right when we actually make that change to a qualification. But once again, if you see this information as you're looking through your training packages, please let us know. Some of the other information that comes into PSO is just, sometimes it's just questions that come along to us. And this was one that was an interesting question that came to us. There's some skill sets mentioned here for the solar install and the design. And the person was asking that, well, the skill set says that you must hold a current unrestricted electrical license to undertake these particular skill sets. The person was doing that was, in the case of a fourth-year apprentice, for instance, that might already have met all the prerequisite units that sit within those skill sets, or the units within those skill sets. Could a fourth-year apprentice undertake those particular skill sets? And looking at the way the training package is written, the answer is no. They must hold a current unrestricted electrical license. So we get quite a few of that information that comes through to PSO as well. Now, in saying that, while the RTO wouldn't be able to deliver the skill set, they potentially could deliver the separate units of competency that sit within the skill set itself. So it's a really interesting conversation that came up around some of the requirements that sit within our training products. We'll move on to this slide here. And I believe, Pete, you might be able to have a bit of a talk on this one for us. Give my voice a rest for a while.
The RFA process from November is now available on the PSO website for you to have a look at the report. But there was 12 questions posed, and there's a bit of a summary on the next page, which is probably easier to talk to. So there they are. Alignment of LLN ACF requirements reviewed on updating units of competency as we move forward. Updating of the companion volume to incorporate commonly used terms within units for clearer, consistent implementation. Requirements related to the demonstration of performance evidence requirements on 2 occasions when well looked at, and clarity provided for implementation of the grandfather clause in EL 39, I think that one is. Support the in-principle review of the elective list for 30820 to incorporate ICT and renewable energy units of competency. Further investigation on the hashtag requirements. Now we're partway through a cycle of working with them and how the RTOs are dealing with those requirements. Identify, support, promote supervisor training for electrical apprentices in various jurisdictions and best practice models. And PSO to meet with ERAC to ascertain what is needed and how ERAC would like profiling to be used in gathering evidence for licensing in all jurisdictions. So that's a brief. And one more is there. Not supported to proceed. Unit of competency that leads to a contractor's license should not be embedded in the Cert 3 qualifications, as it's a post-trade skill, and trade qualifications should focus on their trade skill development only. So that makes it, once they've completed their apprenticeship, they go off and do those courses to become a contractor.
No worries. Thanks, Pete. Can I just go back a couple of slides, Rachel? Sorry, I'll just on what these out. Oh, sorry, on the outcomes. Next one, that one there. So just for those people that might be new to the tag, so these come out from our requests from advice. So these were some of these actions for PSO incorporated from those surveys, from that request that goes out during that. So the more information we get back from you as stakeholders, the more that we can hone in on those things that you want us as PSO organisation to actually look at there. And as you can see, there's some big ones there, but that won't stop us from investigating and moving into those a lot further. Excellent. Now, this one here is a really important. Melissa, yes.
Sorry about asking all the questions. Forget, and maybe I should know this, but I'm new to the electrical area. It's been 28 years.
That's fine. Keep the questions coming. We love them.
Hashtag requirements. Sorry, what's that? I'm not familiar with hashtag requirements.
Okay, yes. So in certain units of competency, in the performance requirements, have a little hashtag next to them. Yeah. And that hashtag means that those particular performance requirements need to take place in a non-simulated environment. Must be. Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
Yes. So
is that unique to the electrical training package, or is that a new training thing?
It is unique to the electrical training package. There's lots of unique things in our electrical training package.
No, I'm keen to learn. I'm keen to learn.
No.
So hashtag requirement means it must not be simulated.
Well, there's a few other requirements in there, and I'll see if I can pull up a unit of compensate. Yeah, basically,
I've learned something today.
Yeah, so they're for the EL, so the UEE EL units of competency, and there's about 11 of them, I think. Someone might correct me if I'm wrong. And in those, they have various 10. Thanks very much, Vias. They have various numbers of the hashtags, but basically, it's what that performance that needs to be done in the workplace, and it coincides with that workplace evidence that needs to be collected. In the last iteration of the training package, it was agreed that these certain things very important for licensing, for understanding, and they need to be performed in the workplace.
Did you want me to actual thing from the assessment condition, Phil?
Yeah, that'd be great if you could.
Yeah.
So
sorry,
at the end of
I'm
your
learning
assessment
here.
conditions,
Yeah.
it says, in addition, evidence of performance evidence items of this unit marked with a hash must be gathered in authentic workplace operational conditions, not simulated in brackets, before final determination of competency in the unit can be made. So there's, like in the unit I'm looking at, there's about 4 of the performance evidence things that have got a hashtag next to them.
And so that's been accepted by the powers that be within DWAR and yeah.
That was in the 20 release of the
okay
package.
And is it because of the licensing arrangements, or is it just because they accept that this is what industry wants?
It was probably a bit of both. I wasn't completely privy to all of the reasoning why, but generally speaking, yeah, it was around the licensing and the industry requirements. Yeah.
Okay.
It was
pre-PSO
managing the package.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Thank you. I've learned something.
Can I throw in there? I think also initially it was all the performance evidence in all those units had to be, and the hashtag came about to go, well, not everybody can do every bit of all these units. So let's identify what a licensed electrician type of work would be and what they should be able to achieve in the majority of workplaces. I think we missed a few along the way and made a couple that are a bit difficult, but that was the intent.
Thank you.
That was in release 2 of that.
Thank you.
30820 that they brought the hashtags in.
Yep.
I've learned something. Thank you.
That's all right. And I see Jasmine just added into the chat, can the UEE companion document include ACMA, cabling rules and registration? Would be something we provide in the feedback. Yes, that's something that can be provided in feedback to PSO. But just on the companion volumes, it's a really interesting point. In the qualification reform, and there's a new training package development framework that becomes live from July 1 this year that the skills ministers have signed off on, and I just saw Peter holding that up in his hand. Within the document there is a lot of, it talks about the companion volume and what can go into a companion volume. And we're actually looking at what can go into that companion volume to help all of you out there. Hashtags is a very good example of that. We get questions that come into PSO about hashtags. We get questions that come into PSO about grandfather clauses and all those sorts of things. So when we come to finishing some of our development in the new qualifications, we will definitely be asking a lot or asking for a lot of information on what needs to go into the companion volume, what would help you, what clarifications do you need that might go into that companion volume. Jasmine?
Thank you so much for that clarification. I'll admit I was previously involved in the old way of reviewing training packages. So this is quite a new framework and I'm quite excited to be involved.
Yeah.
With the companion document at this stage, from what I can see, it's currently in draft form. So I'm just trying to understand with those changes to the training package review as of the 1st of July, what would your recommendation be as far as providing feedback? Do we hold off and provide it, post that information, or as we go?
Yeah, just as we go,
What
yes.
area?
Yeah, start
Appreciate
feeding
saying
it
that.
into us now. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And it will be something that will be discussed at the technical committees as well. So the committees that are looking at those individual projects as well. So if you know anyone who might be on those technical committees, you can feed that information to them, or hit PSO up with those things that might assist you as an RTO or industry to understand those training packages, because as Melissa pointed out, and everyone know in the industry, they're not the easiest of training packages to get your head around sometimes. So there's lots of intricacies around them. So, yeah.
So there's just one in the chat from Melissa, Phil, about the companion still non-endorsed component, which it is at the moment. Is that moving forward, that'll remain non-endorsed?
At this stage, it's not endorsed, but that doesn't mean we can't have all the information in there to assist in the implementation of the training package. So while it might not be endorsed, it doesn't mean that you can't use it as a guide to putting all the information on how you deliver the training package. And if PSO write that information, we are the ones that look after the training package. So I think it would be a pretty good guide to using the training package. Excellent. All right, if there's no more questions at this stage, I might introduce Melissa. Melissa is working on our vet workforce blueprint, but I'll let her introduce herself just quickly before she gets into what we're doing, and she might even have some slides for us to share if we can work through that as well. Thanks, Melissa.
The sharing. Thank you.
Perfect.
Steal the sharing. Did that come up?
It did indeed. It's looking good.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you. Melissa Arnold, I'm just a relatively new addition to the PSO team, coming in as a vet practitioner, basically. So I've spent the last 25 years in the vet industry, worked across a whole series of enterprise, public, private, mining, civil, human services, remote Indigenous communities, all over the place. So a wealth of experience to be able to provide that vet context. So obviously where I've come in is the vet workforce blueprint update, and being able to, so Deb is our project manager, if you like, and I'm going to come on as the vet practitioner. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of context about the background, where we're at, and give you some dates for the workshops that we're currently running across the states. So the project itself, as you know, that the industry has shortages. There's a whole host of issues that we're trying to look at in terms of supporting the industry and supporting yourself, women in the industry, etc. But also then the flow-on effect where this project comes in is through the vet workforce. So vet, as you know, are poaching people all the time, and that doesn't help the industry shortages either. But also being able to provide vet with those practitioners of a certain grade to be able to provide the next round of people coming into the industry as well. So it's a little bit of a set of scales, if you like, and trying to find that balance in between is really difficult at the moment. So there's a whole lot of things that we want to try and investigate throughout the consultation phase of this project to be able to gain understanding about what it is with the industry that's the issue, so both from the industry side and the vet side. So the project purpose, as you can see, is really about collecting the data, which we've just talked about, but also increasing the number of people entering into the vet workforce. So how can we feed people into the vet workforce from the industry? But we know that there's all these intricacies around that, like Philip was just saying about the intricacies with the training package. You've got to have 5 years experience, or each RTO will request certain amounts of experience or diversity of experience for you to be able to come in and be an educator. Then there's the whole TAE debacle. So let's not talk about TAE today, though. And then what we want to do is once we've done all the consultation, we want to pool that information and start to think about ways that we can actually improve the transfer between the industries and also get better outcomes for all of us, basically. That it would include apprentices and trainees as well, obviously. So looking at the vet consultation, we have a bunch of face-to-face workshops, which are actually starting this week. So starting in ACT and, South Australia and Northern Territory, and then the ACT. So if you haven't already been able to get onto one of those, please reach out to us. And we can get you on. Most of them have got some room. I think Victoria is pretty close to full, but there are others around if you can. If not, we are rolling out some online workshops as well that you may be able to jump into. They're about 2 to 2.5 hours. So we've got a couple that we've actually set up for industry and a couple that we've set up for the RTOs, just so that we can focus on those specific issues for each of them. So please, also, if at any point you wanted to talk to us or chat, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll put my email address in the chat and you can reach out at any point. Is there any questions? That was really quick, sorry, but I didn't want to. Jasmine?
Just a really quick one. How do we get this information to some of our RTOs as far as when you're running them? Is this all on the PSO website, or forgive my ignorance?
That's okay. No, it's all good. There is some information on the PSO website, but there is also some information that's been sent out. So we've sent distributed information very widely out to both RTOs, both TAFE and private, and then also the industry sector as well. So I think we've got most people covered, but of course, as with any face-to-face, it's about time, travel, and actually whether or not the day suits. So that's why we've sort of rolled out those online workshops as well to sort of cover both areas. Also, our remote people don't always get to have access to these types of face-to-face workshops. So we really want to make sure that they're in there.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Shane. I can see that you're all right.
Yeah, if you could show me where to register, Melissa, that'd be great.
Yeah. I'll get some information, some links, and I'll pop them in the chat. I'll leave after this and then I'll pop it in the chat so that you can have access to it.
Yeah, appreciate that, because this is a big ticket item.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And it's our chance to actually affect change. And I think that's the big thing. The department are listening. So let's actually give them the information that they need to know. Definitely.
Melissa's got a hand up. Yeah.
So, hi. Well, I remember your name, Melissa Arnold. So the one on the 12th, is this the same workshop that's in person in Sydney on the 12th? I've got a PSO in-person workforce planning, shaping the future of the energy workforce.
That's it.
Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
So the online ones that you're going to run, are they going to be the same information and the same content? So yes. I don't want to have to come to Sydney just for one meeting for that week. I'd rather go online. But so I suppose the advantage of being an in-person, is that an all-day thing or on the 12th?
We have 2 sessions. So a couple of workshops we've had to pull together. So they're a little bit of hybridy and all delivered in one session. But what we've done is had industry in the morning and then RTOs in the afternoon so that we could have some conversations specifically around those industry issues. But the hybrid ones are recognising that also we would like for people to have, a bit of a cross-fertilisation across those issues as well, because we could actually be facing the same issues and we just need to know.
Yeah, okay. But you're also running online ones as well in the same format.
Yeah, so they'll be a bit truncated, obviously. They're not quite as long, but they're still getting at the same. Down the line, we'll actually do some focus groups as well. So what we want to do is try and correlate the data out of it, these workshops, and then actually have some focus group maybe on some issues and start to tease down and see where we can go with that.
Great, because obviously the ITABs are dealing with this stuff all the time.
Absolute, yes. That's why we need the widest possible consultation point. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's okay. No other questions? All right, I'll jump out now and I'll go and
Yep.
grab some links and pop them back in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Very good, precise presentation for us. That's what we like. Very good.
Right.
And just
Bye.
a big shout out for anyone who is in Adelaide, who lives in Adelaide. The Adelaide one is on tomorrow. I will be there face to face for anyone that wants to come and have a chat. So just jump online and register, and we'll catch up tomorrow. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Brett, were you going to give a bit of a chat about this one for us?
Yep, no worries, mate. So doing a couple of research pieces. The first one, low and no enrolments in the qualifications and unit of competency that sit under our remit. So it is actually a requirement of the JSCs from the Skills Minister and the department that we look at low and no enrolments in qualifications and units of competency to try and clean up the system, for want of a better word, if there's things sitting there. But we didn't want to just jump in and go, look, this has got no enrolments, we're going to delete it. That's why we're doing a research to find out, is the reason that a unit of competency or a qualification has no enrolments or low enrolments is because it's not fit for purpose. So if it was upgraded and made fit for purpose, would there be uptake from RTOs in industry for those qualifications and unit of competency? The other one that's become apparent to us is there are some industrial relation implications with some of these training products that might not necessarily be being enrolled in, but are being used in industry as a sort of benchmarking for pay increases and stuff like that. So we really want to take a dive into those and find out the specifics behind that. And even those ones that are being used as benchmarking in industry, why aren't they enrolling? Is it because they're only using part of the qual or part of the unit of competency? So it's really, before we go deleting anything, we want to do a fact finding on how they're being used or why they're not being used in some cases. So that's our low and no enrolment research. Licensing and regulatory requirements, we're just doing a bit of a dive into, because anyone who works in this industry realises that they do change from state to state, territory to territory. And we're not just talking about the electrician licence here. Some states have line workers licences. There's differences in restricted licences from state to state. We're certainly not planning on changing it. That's not within our powers. That's the regulators. But we just want to basically map it out, so when we are looking at training products, we're aware, and also to start conversations between the regulator and particularly industries where there is differences between jurisdictions, and whether we can try and help out with aligning those a bit better, because at the moment it's hard to navigate. That's why we're doing it as a research thing, and we can hopefully have a publication so people can go to that rather than trying to go. You go to the WA license site, then you go to the NT license site and try and compare the two, and it can be quite difficult to get information from those sites depending on how well their websites are maintained. So it's just another little research piece that we're working on.
The question from
Dominic.
Dominic, yeah.
Yep, thank you. Very good point, Brett. Two things. One, around low and no enrolments. The audiovisual industry is very, very concerned about that at the moment because of some of the quals are not being delivered or are out of date. Yet there's a skill demand and a shortage of workers with those sort of skills and qualifications. So that's something we need to have a look at, which I know I've been talking to PSO about. But the other one is more around that licensing and regulatory. You talked about the states. Don't forget the national one, and that's the cable registration one, which is, even though it's a Cert 3 in UEE, it's also a skill set within the Cert 3 that we pick elements of the competency. So if you wouldn't mind just keeping, through me, the registrars involved, because I've actually heading that moment on what's called a pathway chart for the ACMA. So just keep me in mind if you wouldn't mind, please, Brett.
Absolutely, Dominic. Stu?
Yeah, just on, so yeah, I think we've spoken about our issues with the low and no enrolments. Lisa's online, so she'd be able to give a better summary, but basically the College of Electrical Training over here has been working with Western Power to develop a inspector's qual. So it's a brand new qual, as you know, so that's why low and no enrolments is because it's been in development. The other thing on licensing and regulatory requirements, and I hate to say NOLS out loud again, the National Occupational Licensing Scheme of a few years ago, there might be some research in that could help you or get a start on that. The outcomes proposed weren't widely supported, which is why it didn't work. But as a research piece, it's probably worth looking at.
Thanks, Stuart. Right, we might move on from that one, Phil.
Yep, excellent. Just before we do, Jasmine, you have your hand up.
Sorry, I'll just ask a quick question. Do you need any support from industry? A lot of us have, a lot of the peak bodies have already done this type of work in the very complex spaces that they're already working in, with obviously some changes also incoming. Is there anything we can do to support, or any information we can provide, or it's all internal for now?
Yeah, there certainly would be, Jasmine. It'll be our industry and engagement team that'll be driving that one.
Right.
So we'll certainly, and I'm sure they'll be reaching out to various stakeholders, but we'll certainly make note of that you guys have done some background in that.
So much.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a rabbit hole when you go down it. That's for sure.
Really,
Yeah.
yes.
And if we get these up as actual projects as well, we were reaching out for committee members and all sorts of engagement. So yeah, plenty of opportunity to engage in both those ones. And the low enrolments one as well is one of those, as Stuart mentioned, never an easy one either, because, you know, as he said, there might be, you know, looking at it, no enrolments for the last 3 years, 5 years, but an organisation might have been working on it for a year or so or more to get that up so they can actually deliver it. So there's always something in the background with a lot of those low and no enrolments as well. So, yeah.
And just for those interested, Melissa Arnold has put the link in for registrations for any of those workshops. Is in the chat now. So Shane, but anyone else who's interested who hasn't seen them yet.
I've just grabbed that and registered. So thank you, Melissa. Appreciate it.
Looks like we've got a couple of hands up. Is that Dominic again, or has
Yeah,
Jasmine
sorry,
still got a
Phil,
hand
no.
up? Yeah, Dominic, go for him.
Yeah, sorry. You raised a very good point, Phil, and that's around whether the enterprises are actually delivering it, the program, but may not be recorded through the enrolment process, if that makes sense, because I'm assuming the enrolments are coming through either the RTOs directly to the states or enrolments through NCVER, which, you know, people know that's normally out of date anyway. So I wonder whether there's a survey to industry, whether they do use the competencies or qualification, but don't actually enroll people directly in through, or not recording their enrolments through the normal system. Just a curiosity question.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well. Yeah, and it also comes down to whether people are rolling in qualifications or maybe they're just enrolling into units of competency themselves and not necessarily a qualification. So it might be a good question that we might be able to put out with our request for advice or something that comes out with after this tag meeting. It might be a good question to go down. And a good example of that is a qualification that's a Cert 3 qualification called Custom Electronics. Hasn't been used for many years, And then when we've spoken to industry, and we've spoken to a couple of industry groups, one in particular called CEDIA that look at that home automation and that AV type space, and found that this, with some minor changes, would more than suit their requirements. You know, if we add the ACMA requirements into the qualification, we add some CEDIA accreditations into the qualification as well, all of a sudden the qualification becomes more than suitable for a whole wide-ranging sector. So there's a lot of ins and outs in between those low and no enrolments. So yeah, some very good points. Move on to the next one. Do you want to look at this one for us, Stuart? Pretty easy one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, basically open floor for agenda items for things that you think the UEE general tag should be looking at, or if there's something from any of the projects, I presume as well, Phil, that hasn't been brought up yet. This is an opportunity to get those things on the agenda. So yeah, just open the floor. If you've got some issues we should be looking at, or PSO should be looking at, now's your chance.
Yeah, Dominic again. I won't raise my hand, Phil and Stuart. I mentioned the audio-visual, and you mentioned the componentry one that CEDIA is working, and I'm working with them. I'm actually working on a Victorian qualification that we've included the smart home stream in it, which I might send you the units we picked out of the UEE and a few other places. So that might give you some sort of guidance. The
Is
other
that a
one,
Cert 2 or Cert 3 level, Dominic?
Cert 4, actually.
Oh, Cert 4,
added,
okay.
Yeah, we've actually added it to the Cert 4, the Victorian Cert 4 integrated technology, which we're reviewing. And so CEDIA Paul's come to me and asked whether we can have a look at that. The other one, which I'm going to ring Stuart about, is I've been approached by Cisco to look at some of their work and how we can integrate that into some of the quals in the PSO remit. So I'll have a chat to Stuart and see what I can do with that. So it's just something I want to put on there. It's around that computer systems qual that you have. And there's a bit of work that we're doing into the automation and robotics side of things, which may or may not come into the UEE package. And the last one is obviously the ACMA, which I've already alluded to.
Sure.
Yeah, no, really good points. Yeah.
So Phil, we just got Kezia in the chat. With the clean energy / new energy apprenticeships, how are other industries in the group providing these experiences for their apprentices in industries that don't necessarily have access to these on their sites? So I guess that's a bit of an open one to maybe some of the training and industry people in the group. So how are you getting your apprentices or trainees the skills in stuff that's not available in your workplace, so to summarise?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and I can't answer for everyone out there in the group, but it's definitely coming up as we're looking at some of the qualifications that have already come to PSO's attention of what is the clean energy aspect of these? What are the new energy apprentices going to look at? And we've been working with some companies in the that are looking at transitioning from fossil fuels into new energies, and where do those workers fit, and what are the skill gaps there, and what's required to upskill those workers into there. So I think the new apprentices, yeah, it's a really interesting question. Some might even say it's just electrical, and electrical doesn't change, doesn't matter what energy you're dealing with, but love to hear those views of everyone else out there.
Yeah, I can add something to that. If we're talking about the new energy apprenticeships program from the federal government, personal opinion, it was fairly poorly designed. So I don't think they've had the take up they wanted for that program. And I've heard this week as well that the New Energy Apprenticeships mentoring program has been cancelled or is coming to an end in the middle of this year, so won't be continuing. So I don't know if that's a signal to the market that New Energy Apprenticeships funding might be on its way out the door. So,
Thanks,
I mean,
Stuart. Yeah, and that was Kezia's confirmed. That was what she was referring to. Also, was that 10,000 grant, which, yeah, as you said, probably wasn't that well thought out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they didn't talk to industry before they brought that out, and the original program, you just flat out couldn't do an apprenticeship and meet the requirements for the program. And as with a lot of these things, there's a bunch of admin that comes sometimes, and there's no money for the employer. So with no incentive for the employer, you know, I'm sure take up wasn't as good as what they hoped it would be.
Has anyone else got any feedback around that or come across?
Is this more? Are you guys more looking at the solar electives for an electrical apprenticeship as well? Is that where we're looking?
I think we were just talking about the New Energy Apprenticeships program. That's sort of a discrete funding program from the federal government.
No worries.
Yeah, it covers all, because I have several different apprenticeships, including electricians, but maybe probably wasn't a good idea that I just ticked the box, yes, this is a clean energy apprenticeship, because it met the government guidelines. And so now I'm sitting with 20 new babies that I've just enrolled last month and trying to figure out how I'm going to get them experiences across these 4 domains, so that if government comes and says, show me the documents of the evidence, that I can do that. So yeah, just looking to see maybe what other people have been doing. I found a few workshops and stuff to get them the exposure and networking part, but now it's just really networking with other. We've got solar on our sites, but we don't run them, as a contractor runs them. So I'm just going to have to see if we can partner with them, if my apprentices can jump in and do a rotation when they come to site to do maintenance.
Yeah, I guess cards on the table. EGT is the biggest employer of electrical apprentices in WA, and we haven't signed on to this project at all. Just to give you some perspective on that, just because it's, you know, it's timesheet level information, and as a group training organisation, we don't necessarily know what the apprentice is doing hour to hour. We do know where they are and who's supervising them and the important safety things, but what they actually pick up and install, don't know from day to day, hour to hour, and that's really the information they were looking for.
Yeah.
So they're really prescriptive, are they, in those areas that they need to work in? Are they? Yeah.
They've got a document online. It says sort of like a few domains that they need to provide evidence under, and one of them is like exposure and networking, mentoring, but then there's also this meaningful experience or meaningful work experience. But there's no guideline on how many hours it is or how many components that are considered new energy. So we've got some hybrid vehicles on site being mining, and we employ our apprentices directly. So I'm responsible for setting up those experiences for them. But like, as I said, our solar on site has been built by a contractor, so it's then reaching out to them to see if they will partner with us on that journey.
Yeah, we might be able to have a bit of a look at it and see if we can find some information or get some information from our stakeholders and what they're doing, and get some feedback back to the group for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Andrew?
Yeah, just like even this morning, I had a induction with an apprentice where we entered it with the renewables contract, and even the feedback with limited take up on that. It seems like we have apprentices across the country, and different levels of what is accepted and different guidelines from state to state, as the state departments are actually the ones accepting the contract. So it seems very hard for a business that has multiple are nationwide to have different apprentices on different types of contracts around the country.
Bradley?
Yeah, sorry, hoping that the previous question has sort of resolved itself. I was going to pose another one if that's possible at all.
No, that's fine.
The thing I kind of always missed when I was teaching and then managing teachers with our electrical apprentices, this was probably a bit of time within at least the 30820 course to actually sit down and talk about mental health challenges and how you not only look after your own mental health as a young worker, but also colleagues as well and within your business. So we find a lot of the larger employers had those sort of programs but when we talked about sort of 10 to 50 employee organisations, they often were missing, and they were some of the ones that we saw really copped quite a lot of challenges in the workplace. So has there ever been any thought to add to the UEE CD 007 the actual workplace health and safety module, an element in that to address it and assess whether those types of challenges are talked about and incorporated? Because I'm just thinking moving forward, the industry is becoming more sensitive to those issues. There's a lot of non-recognised courses about it, but often the apprentices are too busy or too much on to actually go and do those themselves. But yeah, just something to be considered perhaps in the advice as well. I'll put the same comment if that's worth, anyone else think it's worth investigating or adding for future updates.
Yeah, I believe at some stage as those EPCs are looked at, or the essential performance criteria, and the 30820 is being reviewed, I believe at some stage that WHS unit will have to be, looked at, and that's a really good point about the mental health side of things as well. So yeah, I think we'll definitely add some questioning or something around that to the list. Good point.
Phil, it's Dominic here.
Yeah,
Bradley's hit a very good point, because in COSBOA, the small business, we're actually looking on the effect of mental health on small business. And so, if we can include an element or two elements even around that, how to deal with mental health in the OH&S or OH&E, I think it's called now, WH&E. I think that's going to be important, because there is a lot of people going bankrupt because of family issues, how to deal with it, let alone the financial side of it. So, Bradley, you've hit a hidden point there that's going to explode, I think, in industry fairly quickly.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Bradley. And we're certainly, when we get to review those units, that'll be something that can certainly be looked at then. I ran the electrotech team at Charles Darwin Uni, and we always made time in the apprentices first block for mates in construction to come in and give their program, which sort of was only about 30 minutes, about half an hour, I think, from memory. But really valuable, and even the stuff they ran with the trainers, which was sort of a half-day course, was, not many people left that room without shedding a tear at some point. So it is valuable stuff.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, good. I haven't looked in the chat. Is there anything coming in through the chat to...
There was just one from Peter about financial management subjects. Not sure if that's in scope or outside of scope for PSO. Probably outside, or does maybe that's part for the contractors, the post-trade piece?
Yeah, I think it's set in with that contractors piece that some way say that the 30820 is a pretty large and training package as it is. Without taking things out, it would be very hard to get some more stuff in. I think it's not a bad idea, along with that contractor's idea. But yeah, at this stage, the financial bit isn't in there. But again, bring that up through our channels, put it through to PSO. There might be another group of stakeholders out there that feel the same way. So yeah,
I know it's an interesting piece, and yeah, just the correction coming through. Thanks, Peter. I know it's an interesting piece for the other building and construction trades, where essentially you go from apprentice to subcontractor overnight, and you're basically running a small business overnight. So, yeah, in that sense, it's a bit more critical. I think contractor licensing varies from state to state, so whether it's included in the apprenticeship or outside is probably a bit of a challenge. I think WA has a 3-year waiting period now, although I'm open to correction on that because we didn't have a waiting period at all for a while. It used to be 5 years. So it's that link between being an apprentice and then being a subby or a contractor sort of immediately after your apprenticeship.
Yeah, and I just read that note from Peter there. Yeah, and that might be included in those, 1 or 2 dot points. If it gets in there about mental health, that might cover, some of those other things that are financial and life expectations and all those sorts of things. Even we have also had raised with us social media as well, and some of the pressures around social media that's there for apprentices and mental health and that sort of thing as well. So it will be challenging to get the wording right around those if and when it goes in there.
Yeah, not as much of a problem anymore thanks to the high cost of living, but whenever an apprentice told us they were moving out, like moving out of home, you could put a time clock on them. About 3 months later, the housemate's an idiot, the girlfriend's broken up with them, can't meet the payment on the ute, and that's where their mental health and their personal situation tended to affect work the most. So, definitely a need in the apprenticeship. I get that. But yeah, like you said, Phil, it's a pretty big package as it stands.
It's an interesting point on that, Stuart, like talking about whether it's a need in the apprenticeship. And I think we forget too, the trainers, trainers are dealing with a classroom full of young people, and that might be 2 or 3 different cohorts a week in places that do day-to-day delivery. And it's not something we're going to fix in this meeting, but it's something that industry and particularly the training world needs to be aware of, that, sometimes these trainers are the first point of call for these young people.
Yeah.
And that could lead to a point in that vet workforce blueprint as well that Melissa talked about, that some of those factors that might put pressures on those training staff as well. So yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, and the point about the small businesses as well, it's easier for a large business to spend some money on training or donate some money to Mates in Construction and have them come and talk to their trainers, their field officers, their supervisors. But it's the smaller contractors who are too busy working to do these add-on things or can't afford it. So yeah, we can feed that into the blueprint project. I think that's a good idea, Phil. Anything else from anyone?
Shane's got his hand up.
Yeah, thanks. In terms of the vet pre-apprenticeship and the apprenticeship conversations that have been had, very keen for that workshop and that Melissa's got carriage of, and I'm registered for that. But
Excellent.
to continue pushing the barrow. But the observations I'm seeing from a regional WA and WA perspective is that the pre-app is significantly underfunded from a state federal government point of view, which is affecting its availability, and that has an effect on the vet sector. And I know, talking to Mr. Copeland from the ECA WA, that they're essentially a loss-making training event. TAFE continue to deliver pre-apps in the electrotech area, albeit highly competitive and just simply not enough. And we're missing out not only in the metro area with regards to Cert 2 entry pathways, vet, pre-app, call it what you like. We're missing out on potential young women and men taking up the trade through the vet option in year 11, 12. But we're also missing significant opportunities in the regional areas where the Cert 2 pre-apprenticeships are rare as rock and horse shit. And as a result, I continue to push this barrow, whether it be with the Department of Training and Workforce Development, the clean energy workshops, wherever. We got to mobilise this, because there's a lot of young women and men out there that could very well take up that Cert 2 electrotech, and not only for electrician. We use it for where we can for the recruitment purposes of apprentice linies and cable joiners, because there's lots of goodies in that Cert 2 electrotech that are transportable, as we all know. So governments got to wake up. This is we're squandering opportunity.
No, I think that's some good points there, Shane, and that energy pathways. Besides the vet blueprint that Melissa was talking about, that gateway, or the gateway, is a real look into what might entice a year 10, 11, 12 student to go into the energy sector. And as you said, not necessarily electrician, we're talking all of those energy sector areas needs tradespeople. So hopefully we can get some movement on those projects to feed into the sector. Yeah.
I'm looking at seeing if we can encourage some bigger industry funding for the mobilisation of Cert 2 pre-apps, because that'll be a benefit for the smaller contractors and companies out there, especially in regional locations that might not be able to afford it. But if there's a little cohort of vet pre-apps that have completed, well, you got something here in those regional areas as a potential workforce for apprentices to be taken on by the smaller crowds. Yeah. But anyway, I eat my live in hope.
Thanks, Shane.
Just on that, Shane, my understanding, and Carl's my boss, everyone, so that Shane's talking about, just so that's on the table. My understanding is there's some more funding for pre-apps this year, so we're about to see a big chunk of uptake for the Cert 2 pre-app. So hopefully that's in the post, and we're going to see a lot more spots available this year. Because Shane's correct, the problem was there was funded less than the Cert 3 over here. So when you've got a trainer shortage, you move your trainer off the Cert 2 onto the Cert 3 because the Cert 2 is not making any money. So as a result, I don't think we did a single pre-app last year through the College of Electrical Training, and I think there was only 2 through TAFE, so a total of about 30 spots. So
and that's exactly what we want to hear, as in those comments about not running it because it's not funded as much as the Cert 3, and your trainers are going to move. They're the sorts of things that they want to hear through that vet blueprint. So that's really good.
I'm sure Shane and I both will feed that in.
Yes, we will, brother.
Cool. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on, I think, to the slides up there. You want to go with that one, Stuart? Just reminding people.
Yeah, so just a reminder, next meeting, 15 July, 11 to 1 o'clock Eastern. So you can click on the link in the PowerPoint. I just did it, so it works straight from out of Teams, which is good. And yeah, get on board.
Excellent. Thank you. I can finish off with that one. Any last questions? Anyone want to have a last comment before we close up? And just, when those requests for advice do come out, please get involved. Anything that you find that might not be in the request for advice, that you still want to feed it back into PSO, you can just jump onto our website, and there's a couple of methods there. There's an info one where you can put in. If you got something more, there's a case for change that you can actually put in some information into that as well. Other than that,
Reminder on the summit.
Reminder on the summit as well. Thank you very much. I know the numbers are very healthy for the summit. So if you're interested in coming to the summit, the PSO summit in March, I would get on board reasonably quickly because those spaces are filling up quickly. 2 days for the summit. The first one is we have a lot of speakers, a lot of panels, that sort of thing. Second day, a bit more technical, sort of like the areas where we're at today, in that technical space on the second day, and you can go for 1 day or for both days, either day or for both days. But yep, look forward to seeing you all there, and thank you all. Been a really good meeting. We got some really good insights. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dane.
Thanks,
Bye all.
guys.
Thank you.